A few months ago, I crashed my beloved Honda S2000, and as you can imagine, it totally sucked. That whole experience sucked, but we're past that now. We are focusing on the rebuild, and I can assure you the car is coming back better than ever. And since we're in the middle of a rebuild, I figured this would be a perfect opportunity to compare my authentic brand new ASM bumpers that retail for roughly $2,200 to a replica version made by Shine Auto Group that costs less than a third of the price, coming in at $700. Were my expensive parts worth it? Let's find out. What's going on, everyone? My name is Zahid, and before we get to the bumpers, we have to talk about the legendary Japanese tuning shop that is ASM Yokohama. ASM has deep roots in Japanese time attack, and more specifically in the world of Honda S2000s. Back in 2003, when they made their Scuba Super Battle debut, they became the first naturally aspirated car in history to register a lap in under 1 minute. The years that followed, they became faster and faster and eventually broke 57 seconds in 2006, only 3 years after making their time attack debut. ASM continued to dominate the naturally aspirated class for well over a decade, and a big part of why they were so successful was because of what seemed to be an unlimited budget and the research and development that went into manufacturing the parts for their race cars. ASM set a new standard for track-proven, track-tested parts, and eventually some of those parts, both the race and street versions, became available to the public for purchase. Fast forward to 2019, ASM regained the naturally aspirated S2000 record and also broke 56 seconds with a lap time of 56.875. Absolutely insane. It's safe to say that ASM is the pinnacle of aftermarket fitment and quality for the Honda S2000. It can take anywhere from 3 months to a year to take delivery of your order, depending on where you're at in the world, because of limited production and very long order queues. So now that you know a little bit about what makes ASM so special and why they're so well regarded in the S2000 community, let's talk about why someone might go the replica route instead.
I'm Justin, and I drive a Honda S2000. I drive this every day, and occasionally I will also take it to the track. Yeah, so I've been to Laguna twice, I've been to Buttonwillow twice, I've also been to Thunderhill twice, I've been to autocrossing once. I kind of just go for fun, kind of an expensive hobby, but this car's held up pretty well on track. I do try and cut down time where it can be, and just try and improve as a driver. Eventually I do want to go sub 2 at Buttonwillow. I saw this bumper on Facebook and it just so happened to be painted in my color. The reason why I don't do authentic parts is kind of out of my budget for what I'm looking for. I don't really want to, go off track and then risk cracking a $3,000 bumper.
It sounds like you've put this bumper through its paces. So have you gone off track with this bumper on the car before?
Yeah, I went off at Thunderhill. I've hit cones at Autocross, went off at Laguna, and it's still held up pretty well. I've messed around with a lot of replica bumpers and panels in the past, and man, some companies are better than the others, but if you kind of cheap out, there's a lot of work to be done. You gotta cut, you gotta do all this fiberglass work to make it fit the way you want it to fit. Yeah, if I had one with a bunch of authentic goodies, probably be like a weekend car, keep it in the garage, keep it nice. I drive the car every day, I take it to the track. I don't really want to risk throwing $3,000 down the drain. To me, as long as they fit okay and it lines up, it's not terrible, it's fine with me. Do your research and figure out which brand is a good brand, because there's different price ranges, but if you cheap out on like some Duraflex or some company, you're gonna have a tough time trying to make that thing fit. It's not worth it.
After talking to Justin, it's pretty obvious that there are some major benefits to running rep body panels, especially if you plan on daily driving or tracking your car. Save money where it's not as important, and allocate those savings towards things you shouldn't cheap out on, like wheels, brakes, suspension, and maybe most importantly, tires. I had to learn that one the hard way. Now, to really compare the two bumpers, it was time to install my authentic ASM 04 narrow front bumper, not to be confused with its wide body variant. Once I translated the Japanese instructions, install was a breeze, and I was blown away by how well it fit. I might have had more trouble taking the factory bumper off than I did getting the ASM bumper on. Every pre-drilled hole lined up and every panel gap looked damn near perfect. Maybe better than OEM, to be honest, which I know sounds crazy. One thing that stood out was how rigid the ASM bumper was. The perfect fitment comes with the downside of potentially being less forgiving than the hybrid FRP used by the Shine Rep version. There's always that risk of damaging these expensive, authentic parts, but it's a calculated risk that I'm willing to take as I continue to build my dream S2000.
Take a look at that gap, or should I say that non-existent gap. It lines up with the fenders perfectly. That little spot looks good. The hood looks good. Overall, I'm very happy with the fitment. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but this was my first time ever taking off my factory bumper and putting something else on. I've never done this before. And if you guys know anything about fiberglass, it always takes a little bit of finessing to get just right. You always got to do a little bit of body work, maybe shave a little bit here, make some adjustments there. I didn't have to do any of that. I literally just popped this back on exactly where all the factory mounting locations were, and this is how it sat. It's pretty mind-boggling how well constructed this piece is. That being said, I do think that there is value in having replica parts. It just all depends on your usage. This car is going to be mostly a car show / occasional track day car. I do plan on continuing to use this car to learn how to be a faster driver, but I don't think I'm going to be competing in grid life or anything like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, the whole rep versus real thing, I don't think it's really as polarizing as it might seem. Yeah, obviously, authentic parts cost a lot more. They have better quality. And, you know, at the end of the day, if I got the fitment just right on like a Shine kit, would anyone even really know the difference? You know what I mean? But let's say you do take your car to the track all the time. Let's say you do go off track a lot. Then, hey, it doesn't really make sense. And by all means, get that rep kit. And the most important thing is that you're driving your car. That is by far the most important thing. If your kit is stopping you from enjoying your car, maybe you didn't buy the right kit. And trust me, just because this thing is expensive doesn't mean I'm not gonna drive the hell out of this car. So I think I'll just wrap it up there. Until next time, thanks for rocking with me. Peace out. Take care, guys.